record, and we're live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Trash Pandas. I am one of your hosts, Lindsay. I'm joined by Miss Lauren.
Hi.
And we've also got Dave with us.
Here, so it must be a documentary.
Documentary Dave in the house.
We have a very special episode, in my opinion, because we are talking about the Queen, Britney Spears, and this documentary that has just blown up over the past week, Framing Britney Spears, which was put out by the New York Times.
I was gonna say that's something to keep in mind is this is actually this is not a standalone documentary. This is the 6th episode of this series that they've done so far.
Yeah, like every episode is a different documentary, like a mini doc. But they're actually not mini docs. They're like full.
Yeah, they're complete docs in and of themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was only an hour long-ish.
Hour and 15, hour and 20, if I recall correctly.
Okay, so but I felt like it moved fast.
Well, yeah. Well, and I think we've talked about this with other docs before that, okay, that could have been an episode shorter. Okay, that could have been 2 episodes shorter. Whereas I think this one, about the right length. I mean, honestly, there were some things that I thought they wasted a lot of time on, even in this. But we can get to that. And then there were some things that I would have loved to have seen them dive deeper into as well.
Yeah. Okay. I have to just tell you both. Well, Lauren knows this about me, but like when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, like my closets were plastered with Britney Spears, and I loved her because not only did I listen to her second album on repeat, which is Oops, I Did It Again, which is amazing, but I was a dancer. So she's like the queen of dance. Like her performances are like, we all knew she's not a good singer. She's not Christina Aguilera, but like her performance level is out of this world. And the music videos she put out were so freaking good. I remember MTV used to have this show. It was Making the Video. Yeah, and she was on it more than a few times.
You're saying MTV you actually used to play music videos?
Yeah,
they used to play music videos, and they used to show how music videos were made, and it was awesome. I loved that show, and I would record the freaking music videos and then go and learn the dances of Britney Spears.
Same.
Okay.
I was obsessed with Britney. And so watching her downfall, which we'll talk about in 2007, was so sad for me. Because it was like watching just her life totally fall apart. And you were like, what is going on with this teen idol that I loved and worshipped so much? So that was really sad. But we'll talk about that. So yeah, let's dive in. There's my love for Britney. You have to know it before we start.
I was already aware of this love of Britney. You know, I was also a Britney fanatic. I also had like a point in time where I was like obsessed with Hanson.
Oh yeah,
obsessed.
I feel like that one you might actually want to be ashamed of. Like that. Let's be real.
Oh yeah, I think they were like my first like concert I went to without an adult.
Pre-Britney.
Yeah.
Hanson was when we were like 10, 11.
I mean, everybody knew Mbop. Let's be real. That's a thing.
That's the only song I know by them.
That's all. Yeah, I'm perfectly content with that.
That's not the only song I know by them.
All right.
Again,
every song.
Might want to feel a little bit ashamed about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I did. I thought this was really cool. I mean, they start off obviously, talking about where she came from. I think that's where this started.
Kind of, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, they do show a little montage of the current situation, which is the Free Britney movement.
Oh, that's right. It's right. It dives right in with the Free Britney crew.
Right,
Yeah,
but it was kind of just like, well, in order to get here, you have to remember about all these things that started before that. And I felt like that's when it really started. It was kind of just like you know what I mean?
But like right off the bat, we learn about the 2008 legal conservatorship, and that her dad has control of her life.
Well, and we meet her, I guess, not guardian, but I mean the travel companion / assistant.
Felicia Culata.
Who, and she says, like, I didn't and I still don't understand what a conservatorship is. And I think a lot of people don't. And so, I mean, the reality, so you have two different kinds of conservatorships, and they are both in place upon her currently. You have a conservatorship over an estate, which is, so, all of your financial decisions and all of that kind of stuff, and where your money can go and that kind of thing. And then you have a conservatorship over your person, which means, basically you're not in control of your own life anymore. And as a couple people rightly point out, that is something that is typically only seen with the very elderly, folks that are experiencing dementia, that sort of thing, that literally cannot take care of themselves. And sort of the dichotomy here and the controversy here is, okay, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that she's completely incapable of taking care of herself when she's constantly out on tour kicking ass, and she's working all the time. And she's obviously coherent enough to handle that. Why are you saying she's not capable then?
Right. She's able to work. She's able-bodied. She's of sound mind to like perform in, front of millions of people. So
what the hell?
Why can't she be able to say, I want to go spend my money somewhere?
Or this is who I want to date, or this is who I want to be with, that sort of thing.
Or who I just want to be in my own house. Like,
But yeah, so then, Felicia does the, hey, this is where we grew up, y'all. In Kentwood, Louisiana, little teeny tiny town, pretty much. As she put it, it's basically right in the center of the Bible Belt. So, talks about how, Britney grew up singing in the choir, was in the church every Sunday, that kind of thing. And that everybody knew she was talented and had no idea what to do with her. And I think the first thing that I've seen people start to throw a lot of shade at Ed McMahon over was her Star Search appearance. And yeah, I understand why, because, here you are, I mean, again, context and time. This is the 90s, probably, I don't know, early to mid, if I recall correctly. And, he asked her about, whether or not she has a boyfriend, that sort of thing. And, everybody was kind of getting all up on him on that. And like Ed McMahon was always kind of like America's grandpa. And I hate saying that kind of stuff because, well, America's dad was Bill Cosby, and that went horribly wrong. But I guess I just didn't read into it what other people were reading into it.
Well, that actually, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I said just, it's gross. The clip was gross. Now looking back with the context that I have, watching it 10 years ago, would I have thought that? Probably not.
Right.
But now I find it troublesome.
Well, now you've done episodes on Jeffrey Epstein.
Right. And it's just, it goes to, it's like, it's just a warm up to what she's going to be exposed to later in her life, and what she's exposed through her entire career. And it's just how we treat girls to women.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I did think one of the things they pointed out that I thought was really, really cool was that, one of the very first things she did when she finally got a deal was to come back to that little town and go get, $10,000 in $100 bills and just run around giving them to people.
Yeah.
Right. And well, the thing that she had said was like, it wasn't her saying like, I'm Britney Spears and handing it out. She was just saying Merry Christmas and like being very humble and just wanting to like help out and, give people something, Yeah. What I was going to say about the Ed McMahon clip was that when I was talking to one of my friends when I was watching this, and he had commented that he thought that Ed McMahon was saying like, well, wouldn't you date me or something like that? And I was like, I think he was saying am I mean?
Yeah, because she said all boys are mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I guess like, and then when he said it, everyone else was like, yeah, that's what I thought too, was that they were saying that he was saying like, wouldn't you date me? And I was like, am I the only one that didn't get that?
No, I didn't take that way.
No,
either.
I didn't get that.
Okay, cool, because like there was like 5 of us in a room and 4 out of 5 of us said that they thought that he was saying that he should date her, and I was like, why would he say that? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, number one, ew, and number two,
right.
Ew. So yeah, no.
I was like, am I seriously the only one? Anyway,
yeah.
go ahead.
But yeah, so then they go to basically her first agent, and it was kind of an interesting story where they the agent says, hey, out of the blue, I get this letter from these parents who say they have no idea what to do with this girl. They know she's super talented, but they have no idea like how to get into the industry, what to do with her, what to how to help her, that sort of thing. And this kind of starts the consistent theme that you hear throughout the course of this show, which is Lynn, the mom, is, super supportive, super, everything, and really wants to help her daughter succeed. And that her dad is just a dick. Right. and is obviously looking for a meal ticket out of his kid. And again, ew. Like I understand trying to make your kid successful, but damn.
Like I remember when I was following her career way back when, like you knew this as a fan, that her mom was super supportive and part of her life, and her dad, like they were on the outs for like the beginning.
I feel like like that was common knowledge.
It was common knowledge.
Like there was a lot of like people being like Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan had like that same kind of like relationship where like her mom was really like part of her life, dad was not so much, or like not as supportive and stuff.
Yeah,
because when they talk about how he went through a just a series of jobs that he couldn't hold, tried to start a gym at some point and that failed, went through bankruptcy, went in and out of rehab, alcoholism, that sort of thing. Just not a huge winner all around. Not really.
No.
Yeah. But while Brittany's in New York, she studies voice and dance. Her parents are struggling financially to keep her in New York, but they want to keep her there because she's like excelling and learning so much. She makes it to the Mickey Mouse Club, which is like famous for pumping out stars like Christina and
Justin Timberlake and
Ryan Gosling and so many more. But when she loved it, but that ends and she kind of has like thrown back to regular life.
Yeah, so like I think that's a part that people that aren't that aren't super fans may not know is so that when the Mouseketeer Club gig ended, she went back to Kentwood. It was a normal kid, which has got to be weird on a couple different levels.
It's got to be so weird going from like being recognized on television and doing this thing every week, and then
now you're trying out for the high school basketball team.
Now, right?
Yeah. Definitely weird.
But yeah, so they try to figure out like how to what was next and how they were going to keep her engaged, and then I think it's the VP of talent or whatever it was for one of the record labels that they're talking to next that basically says, oh yeah, singing was something she was really interested in, and so we were going to try to make that happen, and and got her a couple things and got her a couple like recorded some demo tapes and that sort of thing. And this is the funny thing to me, because like I remember from the 80s, like everybody laughs about like the Tiffany video, I Think We're Alone Now, where it starts off in the mall, and but like that was a thing. Like you kids today will never know how popular and important the malls were to our lives. And that's kind of what they talk about is so basically like that was the way you kind of launched, especially a teen artist, was to get them in the mall and get them in the food court and get them up on stage. Which so laughably I mentioned the one South Park episode to you But there's another one that they did called "Something You Can Do with Your Finger," where they start a band called Finger Bang, and it's a boy band, and it's all about them trying to talk the mall manager into letting them get up on stage. So that was part of the thing. But yeah, so the one,
bang bang,
yeah, Finger Bang Bang Bang.
Yeah,
I'm the Teflon.
And then the Britney Spears one is the Britney Watch one, right? They're like, it's Britney Watch.
Yeah, it's called Britney's New Look. And so I had to go back and I was like, holy shit, like this was like that was released in 2008, like so like which is contemporary to when everything is happening. That's one of the things I've always loved about those guys is they release shit like they're so on time. It's crazy. So like that episode focuses very heavily on the paparazzi and the impact that they had on their lives and the fact that she couldn't see her kids and that kind of stuff and why that was impacting her, which are heavy themes in this as well. But yeah, so I just find that I think South Park is on HBO Max now. Go watch that too.
So she goes on a mall tour performing Hit Me Baby One More Time, and she's wearing her classic like schoolgirl with the shirt tied up and the pigtail,
which is funny because that's literally what's on right now because I've got it playing just so like I've got it playing at 1.5 speed as we're talking through it just to make sure that I don't forget anything. And so like that's the funny thing is if you watch the like that first mall performance and that and it's the basically handheld VHS camcorder video and then you see the MTV video, the choreography is identical. So like the moves she was doing at the mall were the exact same moves that ultimately wound up in the video. And so like that was just one of those like dumb, interesting things that I noticed.
So yeah, so the video like transitions from the mall to the actual MTV video, the official video. And when it plays, I just get like chills all over my body.
Oh, I remember.
Video is like so fucking iconic. And when it came out, it was like, what is this? I mean, you just didn't see anything like this. It was like, and they talk about this on MTV, like it was boy band time. And so to see like a female out there,
a single female, right, not even a girl group.
Right. And like, it was just, that video. So good.
Well, and so like obviously I'm a little bit older than the two of you, and so like I remember when it broke, it was one of those things like, oh, who the shit? Oh, wait, she's how old? Shit, never mind. Sorry, my bad.
Like 16 or something.
Never mind.
Yeah. And then the Rolling Stone cover that she did too, which she's like.
So that's so they spend a little time covering that there, where basically this is where she starts catching shit from the media. For basically being herself, where hey, like you have this, you trying to portray yourself as this sweet, innocent girl next door virginal type, but then all this other stuff you do is super sexy and sexual, like the videos, like the Rolling Stone cover, like
it's like a whole like virginal vixen kind of thing.
Like women can't be both things.
Well, so and that's the funny thing. And so like, and she even talks about that. She's like, you're a girl, you kind of want to feel sexy, like that's part of it. And then I love the fact that the lady from the record label, she's like, look, I worked with every boy band, like all of them, and she's like, not one was ever asked about why are they trying to flaunt their sexuality, why are they trying to be this, why are they trying. In fact, I think the only time I remember hearing about boy bands and sexuality was when like a rumor broke about one of them being gay.
I did think that it was really weird when they started showing like pictures of her and it was like sexual nature, but like the background, like, so she's like in a room with a bunch of dolls or like stuffed animals, but she's like wearing something sexy or like, something that says baby on the back or like, you know what I mean?
Well, and really somebody had to create that shot. It's not like she did that herself.
But the one that really grossed me out was she's like on this interview and this guy leans over and says, everyone's talking about them. And she goes, what? And he goes, your breasts. And it's like, what? Why though? Like, why? That's so, what a gross thing. Like this much older guy to be like, oh, we're all talking about your breasts. 16, 17-year-old Britney Spears,
right?
Like, or
again, let's say it one more time for effect. Ew.
ew, which is something that she says a lot during this entire thing.
Well, and you know, for timing and context, you know, like that's one of the things that they make mention of, because I mean, at that time in America, things are transitioning, and so like that's why I said, you know, you look at the 1992 Star Search thing with Ed McMahon, man, you know, people weren't even thinking that way. Like it's not even a thing. Nobody really. But then you flash forward to the early 2000s. Well, hey, guess what? Now we're talking about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. We're talking about blowjobs in the Oval Office. We're talking about cigars being used as sex toys, and suddenly, like, that's mainstream media, and so. This is where I think it's like we've started that role and that transition as a society down the hill where sex sells. Like, I mean, sex is always sold in marketing and advertising, but now it's more of an open topic for the news to discuss, and I'll put news in quotes because a lot of it was you know, like, I mean, this is obviously before TMZ and all that shit, but like, you know, they get into like the Us Weeklies and the National Enquirers and the tabloids and that kind of stuff, but like the semi publications, put it that way.
Right. And then from there,
well, we kind of already talked about the line they draw in the documentary from Monica Lewinsky to Britney.
Right.
Which when I was younger and idolizing Britney, I didn't, like, that wasn't a thing that like crossed my mind.
No, yeah, when they said that, I was like, oh, that's crazy, but I was also really young, so it's like I wouldn't have.
Yeah, I was like,
well, so like I said, like I don't, and maybe I'll have to go back and take another look. I don't recall them trying to draw a line between Monica and Britney directly. I think what they were doing is they were using the Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton story as that foundational element of, okay, here's why the media is now talking about sex more and why it's talking about it more openly.
Right.
And so therefore the concept of sex around Britney is now a more open discussion as well.
Right.
Yeah. So we like see how she was like constantly under scrutiny about her body and about her clothes. And she says this ends up like kind of freeing her from caring. So she's like does more and she just continues doing it at the time. And then her former backup dancer comes on and says like this idea that she was some kind of puppet.
Oh yeah. That was just really good.
So inaccurate. He was like, she, like every decision that was being made about music videos, about concerts, about everything we did had to go through her.
Right.
She was the one that gave the yes or no. She was not a puppet.
Like one person said that she's a diva and she was like, I'm not a diva. I just know what I want.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I know what's going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which and I mean, and that was like, so, and that's again kind of laying that foundation of, okay, she's in control, she's making decisions, she's totally capable of doing this shit.
She's probably more capable than most people.
Right.
Yeah, I love that part. And then, oh my God, her relationship with Justin Timberlake breaks. Like we don't, I think they say this in the documentary, like we don't have royalty, we have celebrity couples, and they were huge. Like this was a huge deal.
Yeah, it was a power couple.
Right. He was at the height of his career with NSYNC, and
she was at the height of her career as Britney Spears.
And like they're the hottest couple. And they had been on Mickey Mouse Club together. So that's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were like the perfect couple, like in everyone's minds. Everyone wanted them to be together the entire time. So like the world was watching.
But like the sad reality is, I mean, for all intents and purposes, they're both high schoolers.
Right.
Like they're I mean, maybe 20, early 20s, maybe. Just
but
trying
everyone was like asking all these questions like, are you a virgin and stuff? And I'm just like, I don't understand why they would, you know, no one's asking Justin Timberlake if he was a virgin. You know
God,
no. Like that's not even a thing. So it's really annoying that they were doing that. And at one point she says, yes, I am a virgin. And I loved her little like stumble over her words where she was like, I want to try and have sex till I'm married.
Yeah.
And I'm
like I don't think that's what you meant, but I get what you meant. Yeah. I get where you were going with that.
So, but they basically just portray her as a shit person and a cheater, and he uses her like a double of her in Crimea River. And like I do recall like as a teenager or young girl watching that entire thing and being like, oh my God, she like broke his heart, and like never once did I get any kind of proof that was what happened.
Well, but so and I've gotten to a couple of discussions with friends about this one since this dropped. And like a lot of people are lighting Timberlake on fire, and they're going back. They're lighting him on fire over that video and that kind of stuff. And what usually brings that conversation to a grinding halt is when I point out, excuse me, I seem to recall every reaction you've ever had to every Taylor Swift album release and video release, which is essentially the exact same thing, just from a female's point of view. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, never mind.
Right.
Like, and don't get me wrong, there's other douchey shit that he does, but like I can't see like lighting him on fire over that video as being one of those things.
Right.
Now Diane Sawyer needs to be lit on fire.
Oh God, Diane was awful. But yeah, I think that it was like she's made out to be the slut and he's, like the golden boy. Like his image is, because he takes such control of the narrative through that video, it's like he almost doesn't even give her a chance to like, it just felt dirty.
Yeah.
Like just the way like, and I understand what you're saying about Taylor Swift. Like she has a song called Dear John, literally about what a douchebag John Mayer is.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's so deserved. But like
but I don't know John Mayer. I wasn't in the room when they broke up. I don't know what happened. Yeah.
I know. I love John Mayer, but he's a known like douchebag. But yeah, it just felt like he got to tell his story and she never did.
Honestly, I feel like she had plenty of opportunities to. Because I mean that's the thing, then you get into, that's when they get into like the Diane Sawyer interview that was just absolute shit.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple of other interviews that she did. Like, and I think she had the opportunity, and on some level, I give her the credit for taking the high road and not succumbing to tabloid TV and just verbally diarrheaing all over the place about what actually happened.
Right.
I give her all the credit in the world for not doing that. And so like, the other thing that, and then they get a couple of clips that, Timberlake did with, like a radio show.
Oh God. Yeah. Howard Stern.
Which, well, it wasn't Stern. It was somebody else, but I mean, they were Stern wannabes. And like, so like, again, creative editing, when they ask him, hey, did you sleep with her? And he says, yeah, I did. And then he starts to back off it, but that's where the clip in this documentary stops. And so like that, and that's one of the conversations I got into with people as well is please remember whenever you are watching a documentary, or any TV show for that matter, but especially a documentary, somebody has an agenda and somebody has a bias and somebody has a story to tell when they're putting this together and when they're producing it and when they're making it. Because here's the funny thing. Like I truly believe they knew exactly what they were doing when they framed the Timberlake story as they did. Because if you look at what's happened on social media over the course of the past week since this dropped, everybody is saying, oh my God, you've got to watch it to see what Timberlake did. Oh my God, you've got, and they're lighting Timberlake on fire on Instagram and Twitter and these kind of, and so like that's getting all the reaction. Not too many people are actually talking about the conservatorship itself. Not too many people are talking about what the paparazzi did to her. Like I would say it's like at least a 10 to 20 to 1 ratio of people talking about Timberlake to talking about the actual meat of this doc.
Huh. I don't see that.
Okay.
I don't see as much Timberlake. I see a lot about the conservatorship. I don't see enough about the paparazzi, which I think was garbage. I don't see enough about Diane Sawyer. But I feel like the Justin Timberlake thing was like a blip. And I think maybe only amplified because he never apologized for the Janet Jackson thing.
Right.
True, because then you flash forward and he got a free pass on that as well, whereas she took a hit on that.
Right.
And so, but and then there's again production bias, and storytelling bias, that sort of thing. What in the course of one of those conversations, Timberlake did a great interview with Oprah, where he could not have been more positive, more supportive, more God, I hope she's okay. We went through a rough patch, but I loved her, and she was always a great friend, and she's so smart and she's so strong. And is that in this doc? No, because it does
a lot to defend an anti-vaxxer. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I'm just saying, and well, I mean,
At
if he's
anti-vaxxer, he's human garbage. He's an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, if he's an anti-vaxxer, he's a douche. But but he can. But again, let him be a douche for those things that he's actually a douche about.
Right. Okay.
But no, I mean, to your point, so the paparazzi thing, and like I said, I mean, that South Park episode, that was almost the entire focus of it. And that's, dude, it's crazy when you start hearing that, Us Weekly had, $1 million budgets for shit.
Yeah.
They were dropping $150,000 to $200,000 every week on photo purchases and that kind of stuff. And oh, by the way, a good Britney Spears shot could get a photographer $1 million. No wonder they were assholes.
Before we do the Us Weekly, you have to enter Kevin Federline.
Oh yeah.
Never understood.
K-Fed.
Her taste in men is.
Really... What, you don't like the song "Popo's Out" by Kevin Federline? I used to jam out to "Popo's Out." Seriously.
Dude.
So and like they don't really get into it here, but like wasn't he one of her backup dancers? Isn't that how they met?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was with somebody at the time.
Yeah, which I thought it was weird they didn't even mention that. I'm like, wait.
Wasn't she Pregante? Wasn't she?
Yes.
Wasn't she? Yeah, yes. She was literally pregnant.
Yeah. He was just so like, even just looking at him, I was like, he just smells like trailer. He
looks like he smells like cigarettes and chicken noodle soup, dude.
If chewing tobacco and a trailer park were a person, I feel like that would be K-Fed.
Right.
But
trucker hat on top.
Yeah, right, with a trucker hat on. But I mean, so I guess like is that kind of touching on something you had said earlier, is this almost a manifestation of the first time we're seeing her push really hard? Where, okay, you keep telling me I have to be this, I have to be that, I have to be that. Fine. Watch what I'm doing now. Like I'm gonna push this boundary even further, and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was an MTV special of them getting married, and
I remember that.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, and it was just so bizarre, like the whole thing.
I watched that train wreck because I love mess, dude. Yes. I had to watch it.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why I watched what was the one with Jessica Simpson and Nick?
Oh, Nick Lachey. Yeah. I forget what that was called. That was bad. That was another one I wanted to mention earlier. Is like the hyper focus on her virginity, on Jessica Simpson's virginity, and like none whatsoever on Nick Lachey.
No.
That was always was bizarre.
Okay, but Jessica Simpson was also like portrayed as like, if you put Britney Spears, Jessica Simpson, and Christina Aguilera in one room, she was like the like preacher's daughter, basically.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she was totally a PK.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then they dive into the Us Weekly stuff and the paparazzi, and we meet one of the basically godfathers of paparazzidom.
Britton Stone.
And I thought it was insane when they started talking about the dollar figures being thrown around for photos of her. And then they get into some of the situations that basically the paparazzi caused, and you think back, okay, well, this is how Diana died. when being chased by paparazzi and being chased, but and you look at some of these scenes where she's being either trapped in her car or trapped in a store or trapped, that's gotta be, I mean, I don't, pardon the turn of phrase, but like that's enough to make you insane.
She ends up, this is later on, she ends up crying about it,
Mm-hmm.
like saying like on camera, I just want it to stop.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the one paparazzi guy, or paparazzo, I guess is the singular, is like, we never really got the impression that she wanted us to stop. Like,
I hate him.
Like maybe just, she wanted to be left alone for the day.
The producer's like, what about when she said, I want you guys to leave me alone?
Right. Yeah. They're like, well, but what about right here when she said, yeah.
I hate him.
And then he was like, well, she wanted us to leave her alone for the day.
Yeah.
Not for life. And it's like, okay, guy, you can see that she's clearly like over you guys. Yeah.
But at first, they talk about it. It's like kind of like a symbiotic relationship between Brit.
Well, and I think all celebrities have some of that. They have to.
Yeah, but she's like, she's really like at first eating it up, and she like, she waves to him, mm-hmm. and she's nice and like, very appeasing to them. She gets pregnant, has baby, and then that's when they say the paparazzi really explodes, mm-hmm. and it's like taken to a whole nother level, and that's where we see like her car is like covered in paparazzi.
Yeah, and they start to try and portray her as being an unfit mother. Really even be a mother,
That is so disturbing. Like the narrative that they just spun around her. And I'm like, imagine any first-time mother being under that magnifying glass. Mm-hmm. You're going to make mistakes. You're human. You're going to make mistakes as a parent. Like, but hers were magnified.
Yeah, we're on the cover of magazines. Yeah.
Right. To the point where she eventually loses her children. Like, that is so fucked up.
Right. Considering I know some people that should definitely lose their kids.
Yeah.
Who have done considerably more fucked up shit.
So paparazzi ends up taking this picture of her driving with her baby on her lap. Mm-hmm. And this really, for people, is like, what? Like, she's a totally unfit parent. Who would do that? And she goes on she does this interview with Matt Lauer, kind of explains why she drove with the baby on the lap. And she's like, I was really scared because I was
crying,
followed by paparazzi.
And the kid is in the backseat screaming.
My kid's screaming. And she was like, and this was something my dad did with us as kids. Mm-hmm. Like, it wasn't unheard of in Kentwood, Louisiana. And
I used to ride the back in the bed of the pickup truck. I used to ride
But it's just like, once again, one of those things where it's just like, leave her alone. Like, it's not, yes. Is it ideal? Absolutely not. When she explains herself, does it seem reasonable? Yeah, it does. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it deserves she's an unfit mother.
But then there's always all right, so how many people saw that photo and judged her versus how many people saw the interview with Matt Lauer?
Right. Well, and the damage is already done. No matter what she says, it's out there. Unfortunately. She has another baby with K-Fed, and a week after this baby is born, she files for divorce. Mm-hmm. She files for sole custody. Kevin files for sole custody.
And then when she starts hanging out with Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, and her mom says, like, at this time, she thinks that Brittany was suffering from postpartum depression. So just another
very real issue, yeah.
Another very real issue that at the time, I don't think many celebrities were talking about, like, themselves experiencing. So,
right.
And it wasn't a huge topic that women came out and talked about as much as they do now. So just another thing that you just feel really terrible for her about.
Yeah, agreed. At this point, Brittany starts hanging out with obviously Paris and Lindsay, and there's all these videos of her coming out and pictures of them, and so it just isn't really helping her case with how people are perceiving her. You know, she seems like she's one of the things that they say is like Britney Spears must be paying their babysitter overtime, and you know, like all this stuff, like just implying that she is incapable of taking care of her kids.
That like infamous shot of her and Lalo and Paris in the car together, and like Lindsay Lohan's all fucked up. It's just so good. It's good.
I've always wanted to get like a pair of underwear where like on the crotch it's just Britney Spears' face, so I can flash people constantly like she used to do, getting out of the thing to just be her face all the time. Look at my Britney.
My Britney.
So the paparazzi actually ends up becoming like super overwhelming, and there's like fights between photographers while she's standing around, you know, and you can hear her in some of the videos saying that she's scared and she's asking why they're so close to her car. She's literally being like bombarded by these people. There's one part where she walks into a room, and as soon as she walks into the room, you just hear clicking, like flashes and click. Like it's crazy the way that it was like dead silent and that.
And it's constant like that. Like that's the thing. Like all of those. Like thank God she wasn't an epileptic. Like all of those flashing and you know all that. Yeah.
And also when her kids are around and stuff, like that must be overwhelming for her children too. And then she says that she wished that they would just leave her alone. So my next note, I don't know about you, leads us to 2007. And it's
where the
like
real
the
fun
famous,
starts.
Right. It's like the famous day where she shaves her head. She goes into a salon. She says that she wants to shave her head. The hairdresser refuses to shave her head for her, which I'm like, why do you care? Like, you know what I mean? Do whatever the fuck Britney Spears tells you to do. I'd be like, whatever, that's fine. But she says no. So Britney decides to do it for herself.
Grabs a pair of clippers and goes to town.
She did it. Listen, if she wants to do it, she's going to do it either there or she's going to do it at home. It doesn't fucking matter. She's going to do her own fucking shit. So, but of course, because she does this and the types of photos that the people have of this, they're basically like crazy Britney being crazy again, you know, and it's like, this girl cannot catch a break. She can't have any kind of like, if she wants to shave her head, she's crazy. If she wants to have her hair grown out, she's crazy. I'm in the Matt Lauer interview that she did with him. She looked like time has been rough on her.
Yeah.
You know,
I love the guy that says like her shaving her head was a symbolic I quit. You destroyed the person I was.
Right.
And I really do feel like it was such a symbolic gesture.
I agree. Like, I think it was an I quit and an I start over.
It was like, stop touching me. Like maybe
that's
what she said.
My looks.
Yeah, maybe if I'm not,
I don't want people to touch me.
If I'm not the long hair, pretty blonde. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then next in my notes is February 21st.
Yep.
Okay, 2007, 4 months of custody battle over the children with K-Fed. And I don't have very much like notes on how we got to this point, but what I have is that one paparazzo guy gets like a videotape of her with her cousin. She's going over to K-Fed's house so she can like see the kids. He doesn't open the gate for her, so she leaves and she goes to this gas station. That's when they kind of like intervene with her, and they're like talking to her like, you know, we just want to ask you a couple of questions and stuff. She goes back over to K-Fed's. Once again, he does not answer the door. He doesn't open the gate for her. So at this point now she's agitated. She's, you know, upset. I'm sure he would have answered the door had the paparazzi not been with her. You know, because he's probably thinking about the safety of the children. Yep. I'm sure that they had that planned. I don't think she was just showing up at his house. You know what I mean? They didn't really make it clear, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think that she was just like, I'm just going to show up at your place. And so they keep on talking to her and trying to be like, oh, we want to ask you some questions. We want to ask you some questions. and she's upset. And so she takes out an umbrella and starts beating the fuck out of this guy's truck because he won't leave her alone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're like showing like the pictures of the dents and stuff, like, oh my God, like,
he did that.
I can't believe her. She did that. And I'm just like, wouldn't you, like, if
yeah, like,
I was not famous, if I'm not famous,
Yeah.
Right.
and I have people following me around, I'd be scared shitless.
I would love to know, like, state of California stalker laws. Like, why don't paparazzi fit in there at some point? How do they circumvent the law?
That's actually been tried a few times. And it's because they play the freedom of the press and public interest card. One of the things like France has super cracked down on paparazzi after Diana. Shame that didn't happen before. But so like in the US, if you are in a public location, you have no expectation of privacy. You can't say that I expected to be left alone. That I expect to be able to maintain a reasonable distance from people, that kind of stuff, which is unfortunate. And I do think they need to change that. To your point, I mean, this guy that ultimately got his car attacked was the guy who was bugging her at the gas station. And I like it's one of those things where like I felt like he was almost trying to redeem himself and portray himself as the good guy when he was being interviewed for this, as, hey, we just wanted to ask her a couple, but like, dude, why didn't you just leave her alone?
Right. And like, well, this is the same exact part where he says that he never got a clue from her that she wanted to be left alone. And then the producer says, what about when she said, I want you guys to leave me alone?
Yeah.
And he starts going like, oh, for a day, she might have said, I want to be left alone for a day.
Listening to,
but I'm like, but even then, did you leave her alone when she said she wanted to be left alone for a day? Because I highly doubt you guys were like, yeah, we got you, and just packed up your shit and left.
Right. Yeah.
And two things about that. One, he says that the producer asked, like, do you believe paparazzi influenced her? And he said no. Like, oh, okay. And then
sure.
Oh shit, what was I gonna say?
And a certain former president didn't inflame a certain former mob.
Right.
But then, like, God, I can't remember what I was gonna say about that. Oh well, it'll come to me.
Yeah.
We can always go back to it. My next note is from October of 2007.
Mm-hmm.
She loses custody of her kids eventually and just gets some visitation. They make comments about how she was seeking friendship, any kind of friendship from anybody, and enter Sam Lufty, who comes into her life. And they kind of they say that he's like a guru of sorts, kind of like a manager and an advisor.
A self-proclaimed guru.
Right.
Help to celebrities when they're at their most vulnerable.
Oh, I think she just locked up.
Yeah. It's the remix.
Exactly. It's the 12-inch dance remix. All right. Well, anyway, so Sam Lufty and I mean, so they basically make it clear that this is a guy who shows up when celebrities are, tending to be at their most vulnerable and tries to glom on and attach himself to them.
Mm-hmm.
And starts to trying to make decisions and that sort of thing. And this is where you start to see the rise of the dad and the whole conservatorship thing.
Yeah. So, interesting that he was her advisor, trying to be her manager. And her parents actually view him as the architect of her downfall.
Which, I mean, if you push somebody off of a building and then you shoot them on the way down, and then they land and splatter all over the sidewalk and a truck runs them over,
right?
Is it the truck's fault they're dead?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So then I just have a note saying, like, no one was talking about mental health or her mental health, and there was just too much to be made off of her suffering.
Yep. So, and again, and I think this is where this documentary kind of falls short, because they don't go into that deep enough. And not to keep, banging on this drum, but I think the South Park episode properly and appropriately crucifies the paparazzi for what they did to her.
Yeah. And they say like she's become a punchline, and not only
they show like, dude, that Family Feud episode. Like,
oh my God, what was that?
Can you imagine how shitty that would be?
Cool. I did not even, first of all, I was like, how come I've never heard of that episode or seen that clip before?
I never even knew that guy was a host.
Be like in the vaults or something.
Yeah, I never even knew that guy was a host.
Wasn't it the Seinfeld?
Right.
Dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the
host for a short time.
The boss guy.
Yeah.
Elaine's boss for a while. Yeah. So I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe it was the daytime version or something. Whatever. But yeah. So like, what 8 things that Britney Spears has lost over the course of the last year. Like, can you imagine being her sitting in your living room, either flipping channels and seeing it, or having 800 people call you and be like, "Hey, you should turn on channel 7."
Right. Identity, husband, and hair. I kind of want to know the rest of the answers.
If Kids was on there, that's real fucked.
Yeah, I do. I am curious to find out. I want to look up that clip and see the rest of the answers, because I'm like, 5 more. Like, I couldn't even tell you what they were.
It's sad, because I remember, like I said, I remember this. Like, I remember watching her, and just, knew, like, there's suffering, there's something going on. Like, it's not
mental health issue, something is happening there. It's not just her being like, I just don't care anymore, or I just don't want to have access to my children,
like pushed by the people around her, and like the position that she's in,
right.
It's sad, because I feel like at the end of the day, no one has her best interest at heart.
No. Truly. Absolutely not.
Maybe her mother, and maybe her former assistant, Felicia.
Not her brother, or her father, that's for sure.
No.
Like, come on.
So the next thing I have is January 3rd, 2008. Police were called for a custody dispute. She was refusing to hand over the kids to she barricades herself in the room. Ambulances, police are called. She is admitted for an involuntary psychiatric hold.
Yeah, and doesn't she lose her visitation rights as well during this time?
On January 14th, a judge then says she can no longer see the kids. And then January 31st, she's back in the hospital with a medical health hold. And then this is the time Jamie, her dad, files for the temporary conservatorship.
So was it medical or was it psych? Because I thought they specifically mentioned it was a 5150.
It's a 5150.
It is a 5150.
It's a medical health hold.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I have written down as well.
So Vivian Thoreen, who is
can go fuck herself.
Jamie's lawyer, who can go F herself. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes. Undue influence was her parents' biggest concern.
So yeah, their concern were that the Sam Lufties of the world were exercising undue influence over her.
Yeah.
And they didn't have her best interest at heart.
Right.
Right.
Like so they file a restraining order against Sam Lufty. I found it so interesting that he's still like kind of in the picture, like to this day.
Yeah. The 2019 thing.
Yeah, like still trying to creep around.
It's very, very weird. And they file like the restraining order against him, and they accused him of even drugging her during this time.
Yeah.
And then he eventually sues the family, and in 2019 gets another restraining order.
Yeah. So Jamie's granted conservatorship over her person and her estate.
Mm-hmm.
Her estate was along with Andrew Wallet, who is an attorney, and what a perfect name.
Wallet, yeah.
Right.
What's in your wallet?
Adam Streisand was a lawyer who she wanted to hire.
And I thought he actually had possibly one of the best takes on this, because they talk with a couple of different lawyers throughout the course of this. One is the woman was actually one of the attorneys, and walks you. She said, obviously, I can't talk about the specifics of this case, but here's what a conservatorship is. Here's how they work. This is what they're for. But it's him that really gets into, okay, but why? And more importantly, why still? And this is, it's not logical that this is still going on.
Right.
So yeah, he's basically like, she had, like, when I talked to her, she had the capacity to understand her situation.
Oh yeah, he said the first thing I had to do was make sure that like this conversation was even worth having. And in order to do that, I had to assess her mental state. I had to make sure that she was lucid, that she was aware, that she was cognizant of what was happening, what was being discussed, and what all was involved. And he was like, and she absolutely was.
And she basically conceded to like needing a conservator at this time, but she didn't want her dad.
Right. And that's the thing. Like and I think, again, good on her for being self-aware enough to go, you know what? Yeah, I can get a little off the rails at times. And I want somebody who can manage this stuff for me so that I don't have to, but not dad, because he's a dick.
Right.
And they basically stop her from being able to retain him.
Yeah.
They do.
And then
but here's the crazy part. Here's the bitch about that. It's her money that's paying for her dad's lawyers to keep her from being able to hire the lawyer she wants.
Right.
Yeah. So they go to court. The judge says he has a medical report saying she doesn't have the capacity.
Oh, this was such horseshit.
Own lawyer. So the judge says, I'm going to appoint counsel, and the judge appoints Samuel Ingham.
And that's and the guy was like, he's like, I don't know what's in that report. To this day, I don't know what's in that report.
That's what it's like. That is the one thing that I'm like, it's got to be something big.
Like, but how is like, but how is that legally possible?
I don't know. Like, right. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, why would a judge rule that?
Yeah.
If it wasn't, I mean, I don't know. Like, what is in that report? What did I don't know.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
One thing that I really wanted to like push on this was they listed off some of the things that a conservator can actually do in like a conservatorship, which these people can control who can and cannot visit you, can make TV and recording deals on your behalf, can retain security over you for 24 hours access, can access medical records and have influence over the doctors, and can take control of your house and cancel credit cards. And those things are all like really big things that you're doing with a multi-million-dollar estate that she has.
Your entire life. It's your person. Like,
but how can you have control over all of these things and say that these, I can make record and TV deals on your behalf and then force you to go do them? Well, and because when you sign a contract saying, I'm going to show up, I'm going to perform this, I'm going to perform that, I'm going to do a meet and greet, blah, blah, blah. When you sign a contract, that is like, you're doing it.
Well, that's what I love about when she.
If someone can retain
that second Vegas residency, I would.
Yeah.
Right. But if someone can like create these contracts on your behalf, then really they're forcing you to work.
Yeah. Which I think that's what is like going to be the next thing in like the legal proceedings.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, she's capable to work and she's capable to make you all this money.
Right.
Go ahead. No, sorry. So at the end of 2008, so under her conservatorship, so October 2008, her conservatorship is made permanent. At first it was just temporary. At the end of 2008, she ends up releasing an album and she goes on tour and she's working and she is on fire. Like, she is back.
I just want to say really quickly that after filming, that Vivian girl rejoins the legal team that's repping Jamie Spears. So she's a piece of shit. So
yeah.
Totally. Oh yeah, and she also says they ask her, have you ever seen anyone get out of a conservatorship? And she said that she has never, in any of the cases she's ever worked, seen anyone successfully terminate.
Because they're all like elderly.
Again, yep, it's because of who the target usually is.
Right. So she's back in her career. It's Britney bitch. Like, she's back at like the top of her game. She gets a Vegas residency I would have died to go to, but basically like revamps what a Vegas residency is. Like, for the longest time, it was looked at like where your career goes to die. And now it's like coveted to get a Vegas residency. And like, that is because of Britney Spears.
Yeah.
So she was cashing in $1 million a week. Yep. For this Vegas residency. So her dad is the one cashing in.
Well, and so
1.5% gross revenue.
Yep. Yeah, you got 1.5%. Yep.
What's 1.5% of $1 million?
So 100 grand, 10 grand. So he was getting 10 grand a week.
I wish that was happening to me.
Right.
I also want to just back up really quickly. They did talk about Britney.
No, actually, it's 1.5. So he was getting 15 grand a week.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. They did talk about Britney for the record, which was a documentary that they were filming on MTV. And that's kind of like the first time that people really hear like from her how she feels about the conservatorship. And she said that she would feel liberated and like herself again if they were to cancel this. And that she talks to them and they hear her, but they don't actually hear what she's telling them. Mm-hmm. And then right after this, she just goes right back to work. And that's when she's doing this tour.
Because why is her dad going to drop his cash cow? Like, right. I mean, that's it at the end of the day for her dad. That is why he's fighting this. It has nothing to do with her best interest.
Right.
Yeah, at this point, no.
So then we kind of see her Instagram, which her Instagram has become like famous in of itself. Mm-hmm. For what
so is this where we meet the podcast that's dedicated to her Instagram?
Yeah.
Babs Gray and Tess Baker, Brittany Graham.
Yeah. So this is like the way she's been able to kind of like show, like take control of her own narrative and show like parts of her life and who she really is.
And people have gone all Da Vinci Code on her Instagram.
Yeah, no,
oh, yeah, I've actually fallen into the rabbit hole of watching. After this, I was like, people do not seriously think that. And I started looking through stuff, and there's like this one where she's holding a hat, and they're like, it looks like she's pointing to this spot on the hat, and they're like zooming into it, and there could be a word there, so it might be help. It might be, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
it's crazy. Yeah.
I seriously was doing this for like 3 hours today, like looking at all these conspiracy theories of like Britney's Instagram and what it means.
Yeah. So people think that she's sending cryptic messages through her, through her Instagrams. Pretty wild.
Yeah. And hey, if she is, more power to her.
Right.
So October 15th, 2018, Andrew Wallet petitions for more money, and it wants to create a hybrid business model.
Which, again, super weird.
Well, this is what the conservatorship means that you are not capable.
Yeah.
Creating a hybrid business model, to me, lets on that you are capable.
Right.
But we don't want our cash cow to stop giving milk.
I know, but it's just like, it's a, what is that called? An oxymoron.
It absolutely is. Like, and it's one of those things.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Like, I think this is where you start to see they're starting to realize that the train is going to stop at some point. And so they need to start getting out ahead of it and maybe taking steps to kind of like that paparazzi douche, try to make themselves look like the good guys, like they're trying to make these steps to put her more in control of her own stuff. But no, not having it.
Right. They're scumbags. So this is like, I love this part where she's about to announce her second Vegas residency.
Oh, and this was phenomenal. Like, it's huge. Like, there are people waiting for like all day, all night. There's reporters, there's a crowd. She's live. She's gonna come out.
Like, she's fireworks.
She's gonna make an announcement. She's gonna perform
like
a
Britney's
song.
Here, and it's just like, it's Britney, bitch, and then she like walks down the stairs. It walks right past everybody.
It's hilarious watching the reporters' faces, because like they expected her to stop on the stage because she comes out from backstage. They expect her to stop there to make the announcement. She doesn't. She walks down the stairs, and they're like, "Oh, well, maybe she wants to get close to the fans." Nope. Keeps walking, walks right past everybody, right past the crowds, right past the reporters. Doesn't wave. Doesn't say hi to anybody. Just keeps right on walking. Gets in a car and drives away.
A big fuck you.
And that was hilarious because and you can hear like, we waited all day for this. What the hell's going on? Like, what?
We went live on Facebook for this.
Right. Yeah.
So January 4th, 2019, she cancels residency because of father's health issues. So I'm like wondering, like, that was probably Jamie that put that statement out. Mm-hmm. And I feel like maybe the real reason is she was like, you can fuck right off. Like, right.
Well, and so that's the thing. And this is where you start hearing the, hey, I'm not going to work anymore until he's not in control of shit.
Right. Right.
Period.
And good for goddamn her.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
So then she just kind of disappears.
She goes silent. Radio silence.
Yeah. And Andrew Wallet quits the conservatorship. At this point,
which everybody was like, which seemed kind of super weird. Like, so, okay, he's the one just requested a raise. B, wants to push this hybrid business model. And then a month later, me.
Yeah. Super weird. Something's going on in the inner circle at this point. So Britney checks in voluntarily to a residential mental health facility. At this time, anonymous.
It's announced that she had checked in, but what's not announced is how long she had already been there when that announcement came out.
Well, that's this anonymous person that calls the Britney's Graham podcast and says that she was involuntarily checked into a mental health facility back in January. Oh, is that what it was? January?
That's what I have. I didn't hear what you said. My phone or my computer cut out, so I just said in January with you.
Oh, I wrote down June, so I probably got it wrong.
I could be wrong too. I have no idea, but I'm just saying it was one of those J's, and it was a long time before they was saying it. So
right.
She's been there a minute.
But Larry Rudolph, her manager, denies this. And then at this time, the hashtag Free Britney blows up. Anyone else?
No, my next note was just that fans start to gather in rally and support. Jamie says that the movement is a joke and that they don't actually know what they're talking about and that he's doing what's best for his daughter.
So it's funny that this comes out now, or the timing of this doc being released now, because we're just we're still dealing with the aftermath of all of the QAnon conspiracies and all of that nonsense that wound up being complete and utter bullshit. And they interview this one, one of the ladies, and they're like, well, what if you're wrong? And she was like, well, she's like, there are times when, I question that. Like, what if we don't know what's going on? And what if they really are doing what's best for her? And well, if all that has to happen is Brittany comes out and says, guys, they're doing what's best for me, and we'll shut up and go away.
Right.
And exactly. She could do that if that was the case. But then the other part of that is we've seen for years as fans a track record of her father.
Yep.
And so we're just looking at a pattern here that he's not the most upstanding father. Right. So there's that other piece to it, that he seems to be a big piece of shit and has been that way for a very long time.
Right.
But yeah, and she could very easily come out and be like, this is what's
guys,
best.
Yeah.
I'm okay, guys.
Let
but
it
she
go.
doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So Federline, interestingly enough, takes a restraining order out against Jamie.
Yep.
And this was for his treatment of the kids, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, he claims that Jamie was in a physical altercation with one of her sons.
Yikes.
And these kids are young today, so I can only imagine how old they were when he's saying that this had happened.
Now.
Yeah, because I mean, they're what, 13 and 15, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
That old?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So September 9, 2019, Jamie steps down and is replaced as conservator of her person.
15 and 14, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
But he remains in control of her finances.
Mm-hmm.
So her brother Brian gives an interview on a podcast and says women in his family are strong-minded, and he has not seen Brittany held against her will. But the way he says it is like super misogynistic-y.
Yeah.
And there was one point when the guy says, have you ever seen her, being held against her will or like, whatever. And then he goes, every day. And then he's like, oh, I'm just kidding. And I'm like, okay, the funny thing is that all of this, it looks like you're kind of fishing around for something to say, except for that one moment where you said every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You just,
you seemed way too confident saying that. And then suddenly backtracked and was like, just kidding. Nope. Everything's fine. Like, why would you even joke like that? Why would you even say that as a joke?
I don't know if you know any of this, Lauren. I didn't research this, but a really interesting cure for her sister.
I know, Jamie Lynn. Well,
Jamie Lynn.
They literally said in the very, very end of it
she refused
that basically the entire family refused, and that Britney Spears, like, they tried to reach out to her, but they don't even know if she got the message.
Yeah.
But like for Jamie Lynn, like Jamie, it just surprises me that never once has she said anything publicly.
But isn't Jamie Lynn also scrutinized for, wasn't she like pregnant at 16 and stuff? And like,
she had like that super successful, like Zoe 101.
101. Yeah. So, and then she got pregnant and was fired from it. And then I don't know what happened to her.
Yeah. Like, it's interesting that like that her siblings wouldn't voice more support or one party or the other.
You're like, she's absolutely insane, or be like, yeah, my dad is fucking crazy and we need to get him out of here,
right?
One or the other, or even fucking in the middle and be like, I think that my dad is doing a good job, but I think that she probably is, capable of taking on stuff on her own.
It's just weird they don't talk about it.
They don't say anything. Exactly.
So Brittany files through her lawyer that she wants a bank to oversee her estate.
Yep.
In the same filing, voices support for her fans and voices she doesn't want Jamie to hide their legal issues and like sweep it under the rug.
And she says that she loves the informed support of her
Yeah.
fans.
Yep.
So it's like she's literally saying, thank you guys for doing your research and bringing this to light, because I've been trying to do this all this time and nobody is taking me seriously.
Right.
You know?
Right. So her and her lawyers are starting to oppose Jamie's conservatorship. The judge ruled not to remove Jamie, but add a co-conservator, Bessemer, is that how it's pronounced, to her estate.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of wins a little bit. At least
it's a small victory.
It's a small victory.
Yeah. So yet again, somebody else being added to the Britney Spears payroll.
It's a little bit of like a little window opening up for the possibility of bigger things to happen for her.
And I feel like at least this will keep Jamie in check.
That's the hope.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's most of my notes.
That same.
Yeah, it kind of just ends dead ended there.
Yeah, I mean it does. I mean, and it kind of wraps pretty quickly. I mean, they have the note that in September of 2019, Jamie steps down temporarily, citing health reasons. And they go. They talk about the court case and how that's going, and basically somebody's updated, like, because it was very limited people that were allowed in this. It was crazy. The public was actually allowed to be in the proceedings, and like somebody was updating a Google Doc on the fly that they had shared out, and that's how they were communicating with the people outside and that sort of thing. What's interesting is what has now developed since this. Like, this has only been out for a week or so now, and now you've got this, you've got these announcements coming out of things heading back to court and things being looked at a little closer and things,
good.
And so, maybe things are going to change. We'll see.
I really hope so. Just in the legal sense, it's just such a contradiction because she's obviously a very capable person. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
To continue to have this conservatorship.
For sure.
And she's obviously gone through all of like the avenues of trying to get mental health help, and her kids are getting older and stuff. She's able to kind of like be more of a
and I mean,
a mom for them and stuff.
Gaslighting 101 though. I mean, if you are under the thumb of somebody who spends their entire day trying to convince you that you're crazy, you're going to start thinking maybe you're crazy.
Right.
And so, I some of it I wonder is, and I kind of wonder if these checking into these facilities is her way of getting a sanity check. And hey, am I actually nuts, or is this, just what's going on? Or B, maybe a little column A, little column B. Is that like an escape for her to get away from?
I never thought about that, but that's a really good point.
Or also, this is like her only that might be her only like sense of control as a person.
Mm-hmm.
That I can go into and check into these facilities, and I don't have to do this Vegas residency because I don't want to.
Right.
Because I just don't want to, and I don't want to give all my money to you anymore. So I'm not going to make any money anymore. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds, and hopefully free Britney.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like this was pretty eye-opening for me. Like I didn't realize. I mean, I knew some of it, but I didn't realize. Like with the Vegas residency, I didn't realize. I had no extent. Yeah, I mean, like I had no clue. Like just exactly how batshit crazy some of this stuff had gotten. And yeah, wow. I do. I mean, like having looked at it and having watched it, it is nuts. And I think, more people should be concerned that, you hear all the time about, whether it was like, Gary Coleman or, all these child stars that basically wound up broke and bankrupt because of what their parents did to them over the years, how often does this shit go on that we don't hear about, that we don't know about? And if it can happen to her, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. The conservatorship's a scary thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. I hope she gets out of this for sure.
I mean, I don't think there's any question that she should still be in it.
Yeah.
I don't know how any like judge could look at that.
Okay, well, I was just about to say, like, I don't think it's any question either, but obviously with like the judges obviously not changing things, and for somebody there's a question.
There's a question somewhere, yeah.
What's in
Right.
those damn medical records?
Yeah, we need to know what that says.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, that's
what that is.
That is kind of like you were saying, like that is the one thing that seriously super nags at me is, okay, what the hell was in that doc?
Right.
That they wouldn't even let they wouldn't even let her lawyer see, which, that crazy.
That doesn't make any sense. I didn't know that was like legal to be like, we're just not going to show you the evidence that we have for why we won't give herself back her own.
Well, and it's like, I know like civil cases are super different than criminal. Like you could never have like in a criminal court case, you could never have like the prosecution giving evidence to the judge that the defense isn't aware of, and isn't allowed to see.
Sure.
And the judge be going, oh, well, based on this, guilty. And no, you can't see it. No, you can't refute it. No, you can't.
Yeah, you can't know why, but guilty for sure. And the other thing too is that her dad is like a piece of garbage anyway, because he straight up is just like, well, it's not like she's under lock and key. She can travel. She can go places. It's like, well, sure, you let her do anything as long as she's making you money.
Yep.
Right.
You'll let her travel to her tour. You'll let her, go with the family places as long as everyone's going. Yep. You're not being like, oh, go ahead and just go wherever you want, Brittany. Talk to you later. Well,
and I think that was like one of the key things they talked about when it came to both the For the Record documentary that they did with MTV. They talked with a couple of different videographers and producers and those.
Yeah.
And they were like, dude, you don't get access to her. Like without her dad there, without the team there, there's no such thing as an off the cuff interview with her.
You don't have, and I like how he described them as her handlers.
Yep.
Yeah.
You won't have an interview without close scrutiny on, or from her handlers.
Yeah, and here's the boundaries of the questions you're allowed to ask and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Using the word handlers, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So next week we'll do 90 Day, but we have to do Elisa Lam.
That's fine.
Documentary.
We're calling it right now.
And it might be a two-parter for us.
What are there, 4 episodes?
Yeah.
4 episodes, but there's a lot to digest.
Yeah.
All right. I got some time this weekend. Guess I'll start watching it.
It's so good.
Yeah. So tell everyone what the name of it is.
The whole name is, hold on.
Vanish.
Is that what it is?
I think it was like Vanish at the
Vanishing
Hotel.
at the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah. Okay.
So
On
we would do
Netflix.
that one. You guys have 2 weeks to watch it. I mean, this is more time than we've ever given anyone to watch something for our podcast. You have 2 weeks to watch it. So get on it. You have 4 episodes to watch. It might be a 2-parter for us. Who knows? It might be a 1-parter. We don't know. We might get so delve right into it like that. That's going to be like, I have to talk about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
I want to talk about it right now because
I want to talk about it right now. We won't. But you got 2 weeks. So tune the fuck in.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
So real. And free Britney.
Free Britney.
Bye.
Bye.